Namaste. I would like to speak about meditation today. It's become a rage in the world. Some say it's a fad, but whatever said and done, most of us are for meditation. We see it in a very positive manner. Whether we understand what is meditation in the real sense is a different issue altogether. Meditation, so many types. Movement meditation of physically, mental meditation of breathing, of mantra, of focused with your body and mind supposedly still. So there are many types of meditation. And the unfortunate part is, most of us who do meditation, even if we still our mind temporarily, like we all do for 10 minutes, trying to stop our thoughts which we can't. It's not possible. And even if we do, by repeating a mantra again and again, again and again, silently and trying our best. But the moment we stop this effort, we stop this exercise, we stop the technique that we have been following, what happens? The mind bounces back with extra vigor. Our ego returns back. And we gossip. See? In some way or another, that we're doing meditation these days. Or I'm doing meditation these days. So it becomes more of a gossip and a show-off. We are back to square zero. We are what we are. A mind separated in duality, into this and that, for its selfishness, trying to prove to others, I'm superior to you. So, actual meditation is very different, where you're not the meditator. You become the meditation yourself. After all, meditation is what? It's a movement of energy, like any other movement of psychic energy in the mind. The only difference is when the body and mind are doing meditation, it is temporary and may be called a fad. Because I don't see anybody transforming in the real sense. After all the contemplation, introspection, what not they do, methods, practices, techniques, motivational efforts. After all, what is motivation? It emerges from desire. You're motivated to do what you desire. So, desire itself is through the mind. And mind separates the wholesomeness, the absoluteness of the energy. So, physical and mental meditation with effort, mind applies effort to experience and evolve. And that is not giving the results that we inwardly require. It's the spiritual meditation. in which there is no effort, effortless, in which we simply have to understand with clarity as to what it is which can benefit us in the long run. So, first of all, one has to understand what is spiritual to know what spiritual meditation is. To be spiritual, which is to be spiritual, is to be going towards soul consciousness, towards higher consciousness, to enter into the core of our beingness. When meditation is nothing but aware conscious energy, which is not temporary. In the mind and the body, it's temporary. That is why the subconscious rules the mind. Or 98% of the time, the conscious part is very minimal. Mind is functioning in auto mode from its memory and intellect, subconsciously in an unconscious manner, multitasking, randomly. So, spiritual meditation comes to the rescue, which is not much spoken about or written about. Spiritual meditation is meditative awareness in the existential moment of now. Now, what do you mean by that, existential moment of now? Mind divides the duration of any moment into its past, present and future through chronological and psychological sense. Whereas existential moment is as it is, the way it is. The duration can be for any length. And it's the moment of the eternal now, where the mind is not being able to separate and divide like it does to everything. So, meditative awareness in the existential now, from one moment to the next, constantly and continuously, is spiritual meditation, where the meditator meditating on the object of meditation, that is the mind, through its spirit, all become one. The body, mind and the soul become one in its wholesomeness, in its absoluteness. There is no duality left. And what happens? What happens? How do you become aware? That is the first thing. The whole of spiritualism relates to one word, awareness. The whole subject of spiritualism is related to awareness. Who are you? Aware energy. Aware energy. The spirit. What is the spirit? Awareness. What are you? Consciousness. Be content. Awareness is the context, the subject, which is your beingness. Awareness is your beingness, which is responsible to make the mind aware. And after that, conscious. After that, conscious. So, this awareness is the universal energy, the absolute non-dual energy, sitting in the superconscious section of the mind, which is the silent zone, where no thoughts prevail. Not the cognitive mind, where thoughts are dividing into this and that, here and there, everything, and relative opposites of God and the devil, positive, negative, etc., etc. So, the mind has three sections. The conscious, neuroscientists are claiming hardly 3 to 4%, 3%, 98% subconscious, and then you have the sleeping superconsciousness within your mind. Why sleeping? Because we are ignorant about it. So meditation is going into that superconscious level effortlessly and awakening that, meaning it is the awakening of the superconscious section, where the spirit is settled in the area which we call as the soul. Soul is that superconscious section of the mind. We call as the soul. So, what is the role of the soul? What is the role of the soul? And what is awareness? When the mind observes, when the mind watches, and if the mind is alert on what it is watching and what it is observing, it becomes aware. So only if the mind is alert, it becomes aware. Otherwise you're watching, you're observing everything, but you're not alert, you're not bothered about it. Watching it just passes by your eyes and your mind and you're not concerned about it. But if you are alert, you become aware. And after being aware, that can also bypass the mind. And after you're aware, if you're attentive, then you become conscious. And if you become conscious, your mind gets activated into the present moment. There's a pause in your thoughts. There's a pause. And you will not intentionally, consciously do something which is not favorable to you, which should not be done. That's what consciousness is all about. How to increase the intensity of your conscious energy. NESS, the suffix added to conscious, referring to the intensity. How to go towards the lower consciousness, which is the ego consciousness, towards the higher consciousness. So when the mind is alert, it becomes aware. When the mind is attentive, it becomes conscious. When the mind is alert, it becomes aware. Why? Because that aware energy is already settled in that divine within, with that Aham Brahmasmi, with that thou art that. In the silent zone of the mind, you need to awaken that. And that moment of energy is called spiritual meditation. What does the soul do? It is called the witnessing consciousness, or the witnessing self, or the witnesser, Sakshi. That's the job of the soul. When you watch and witness impersonally and impartially, witnessing is done only in the present moment, when the thoughts of the past and the future are not connected, and you just, in a thoughtless thought, are watching, uninvolved, unaffected by your likes and dislikes. No condemnation, no judgment, no prejudices. You're just watching, witnessing, externally and more importantly, internally. When you're watching inwards, only human beings can do that. When you're witnessing your own thoughts, playing its games of truth and lie, trying to fool the world and also fooling you. Because we are all imprisoned in our mind, in its ceaseless desires, working subconsciously. And what happens? We get imprisoned in our own mind. Instead of using the mind, we are being used by the mind. And that is why meditation is required. Physically and mentally, okay. It has a lot of therapeutic effects. It relaxes the mind. It brings down the blood pressure. It releases certain enzymes called telomerase and things like that. So mental, physical is more for therapy. To relax the mind, to discipline the mind, to soothe the mind. But it's very temporary because the movement becomes subconscious. When you're doing meditation every day, initially you do it very, very seriously, consciously. Then what happens? That consciousness disappears and subconsciousness appears. And you're subconsciously doing it. So it becomes a routine. A subconscious routine. But in spiritual meditation, when you're aware, and if you can do that constantly, continuously, being alert all the time, it is called spiritual meditation. It is the actual transcendental meditation. Not what the transcendental meditation we hear of or read about. It is the actual transcendental thing. And this is what we are supposed to understand. There's no effort applied in it. It is effortless. It is effortless. Where your awareness is awakened, it's the awakened meditative awareness which you should follow. Thank you.